Good afternoon from Southeast Asia, from Manila, from BGC in Manila. This is a rant. I can't do the rant on the thing I want to do the rant on, which is my condo in BGC. They don't got no free speech laws here. They do, they're on the books. But if you speak out about, pretty much anything, within a few days you're going to get a visit from some goons, G-O-O-N-S, and they're going to have a talk with you, and depending on who you spoke out about, if you only spoke out about cost of bread, price of bread in the local market, they're probably just going to talk to you until you knock it off or bad things will happen. Talk about the government, and bad things, have pretty much already happened. And you just haven't figured out what they are yet. Pretty much every Filipino I know who has spoken out about anything to anyone has gotten a visit from someone, a couple of guys minimum, 3 or 4 guys sometimes. So I can't talk about my shit condo. Well, actually I can, I just can't name it, and that's no fun. If I can't name the condo, it's no fun. I got no serviceable running water. I'm paying some of the highest rent in BGC. My key card has failed 4 times in 60 days. And you got to get a new one, takes several days each time. Just stops working. No, I'm not going to go there. That'll wind me up. What's that song, the Stones? Don't wind me up or some shit. I don't know. Anyway, so I've decided I can talk about Apple computers because Apple is not headquartered in the Philippines. The Filipinos don't give a rat's ass if I bash Apple. So I'm going to, because I feel like it. Oh, God, I hate him. Okay, now, I hated Bill Gates more in the beginning, in the early years. I started on CPM. I think it's CP/M. CP/M, or maybe I think that's how it's put together. I can't remember exactly what it stands for. It was all command line, early days. Worked perfectly well. We thought it was just hunky-dory. Nobody had any gripes at all about CPM. It was just fine. It was the other version of DOS, And DOS was mostly okay. That was a Microsoft thing. CPM was fine. And then Windows came along, and everybody said, "Oh, that's a bunch of horse shit. Windows are no good. That's just silly, frilly, airy crap. That'll die out in 6 months. Be gone." That's what we all thought. And look what happened. But anyway, it was a good idea. The concept was good. And Windows are useful. Okay, I admit it. Somewhere along the line, the logic went astray, ran off the rails, as it were, and they just started coding things in a shittier manner until now you've got this giant, bloated, dead, rotting whale of a piece of code that they call Windows. The iteration doesn't matter. It's all a giant, rotting carcass of a whale laying on the beach in the sun, getting ready to explode. It hardly works at all. And it works kind of, sort of, for silly, frilly, airy things. Kind of hard to make it work in a big industrial environment, And it kind of, some companies limp along using it. Anyway, and I didn't like Bill Gates personally either. I lived, past tense, not far from him. I have family who worked in his home. My opinion, he's a frickin' boiling jackass in every possible way. Ask his ex-wife. Not going to get a nice answer. And in the early days, this guy, he should be in prison for various iterations of Windows you know, they were really, really bad. And they were bad partly because it was the early days of computing, but partly because Bill Gates, was stupid, STOOPID, stupid, and he hired stupid coders. I knew some. I hated them to a man, woman, child, and dog. I hated them. They were idiots. We had one family friend. He was a higher-end coder, Microsoft, right up the street. His name was Dan, but he was really called Dead Man Dan. Why? Because Dead Man Dan had a sailboat, which Microsoft employees should be prevented by law from owning, or cars either, or motorcycles, or toasters either. Toasters, yeah. No toasters for Microsoft. Nothing mechanical, because they can't freaking... Okay, Dead Man Dan had this sailboat. And every time he took out the sailboat, he crashed, usually onto rocks or other boats. Something, he wasn't really particular. He just couldn't run anything that was hands-on in a situation, in an environment where if you make a mistake, the consequences are immediate, right now. Like, you hit the rock, that's pretty quick. In coding, you could usually make a mistake. It might not show up for years. Might not ever get figured out. So there was a lot of incompetence in coding, still is. No cause and effect. Well, there is cause and effect. You can crash the system with an errant line of code. But more often, the system bumbles along, just crippled, like a three-legged mule now. But people say, "Oh my God, look at that! That's amazing! Look how fast that donkey can go on 3 legs! Oh my God, it's great! Keep doing what you're doing. You get a big raise out of us." Okay, that's how I saw coders for Microsoft. Didn't like them, and so as I got more and more pissed off at anything Microsoft, I started thinking, they got this other thing. It's called Apple. Now they had Linux too, but Linux wasn't really coming along in those days. It was coming along, but it was just too slow. Apple was kind of already there. Apple was and is kind of a version of Linux. Linux is a better piece of code than any piece of shit Microsoft ever put out. It's better. Anything Linux or Linux-like is better than anything Microsoft ever put out. So I started thinking about Apple. Maybe. I was owner of a print shop, had a bunch of big industrial printers, trying to keep them running on Microsoft. Shit was right there bumping impossible. Lots of lost days of work because of Microsoft bullshit. Whole days lost to Microsoft bullshit. And we tried Linux, we played with Linux, and we couldn't get all the drivers we needed to run the equipment. And Linux just wasn't there yet. So I started thinking about Apple. And so I started buying some apples. And I realized immediately, of course, like all of us do, that Apple did not play well with Microsoft, with PCs. In the early days, virtually not at all. And we thought, oh, well, they'll straighten this out, No, they'll fix this, because Apple and PC, they got to talk, If computing is going to evolve and become the cool thing that it could be, then Apple and PC and Linux, they all got to talk. No, and we finally realized that Apple and PC don't talk by design. Apple is a bunch of snooty little sons of bitches, and they don't want their computer talking to your computer because I don't know, they just don't. It's like your mom tells you not to play with that kid down the block. You know, he's a nice kid. He never did anything wrong, but your mom doesn't like the way he combs his hair. And so she tells you you're banned from playing with that kid ever. And I remember when I was a little kid, there weren't too many little kids in my neighborhood. We lived downtown, big city. And one day there was a new little kid. We're playing in some ruins, you know, in some building thing that had collapsed or some bullshit. It was a great playground. And we spotted this new little kid. And we thought, man, there's a new op for a friend. You know, we're like 5, 6, 7 years old. And I started to trot on over to this kid. Hey, how you doing? You know, you want to come play with us? You know, we got a rat down here in this hole, you know. Come and look at him, you know. And he was like, oh, his eyes lit up. He's like, oh, I could see him thinking, my God, friends, I can have friends. I can have new friends, and they seem nice, and they're not pelting me with rocks or anything. And so this is great, you know. And so I motioned for him to come on with us, you know, let's go look at this rat. And all the other friends in my group, I said, no, stop, yet, 9, stop. No, all our parents say we can't play with that kid. No. I thought, what in the hell? Are you crazy? Are you freaking crazy? You know, look at you little assholes. You know, that's all I got to play with. Here's a new kid. Maybe he's nicer than you, you know? And I said, what's the problem? You know, did he throw poop at you or something? What's the problem? And in hushed little tones, they took me aside and they said, are you stupid? Are you stupid, you stupid little kid? I said, I don't know. You know, maybe I could be. And they're like, look at him again. Look at him closely, and maybe it'll come to you. So I did. I stared at him. He's like 10 feet away right now. And I just stared at him like, what the hell? I don't know. Has he got worms crawling out of his nose, or what? Does he drink his own pee? What could possibly be wrong? And they're like, no, look again, you blind little bastard. Look again, look at him. He's black. I thought, well, what does that mean? Huh? What do you mean he's black? Yeah, he's from somewhere, I don't know, he's not from this neighborhood, but look at you little asshole, you're white. What the hell? How are you going to defend that, jackass? And as it turned out, you know, if I wanted to have 5 friends, I could not play with the little black kid. Or if I wanted to have only 1 friend, then I could play with the little black kid. You know, okay, that's Apple and Microsoft. Apple saw Microsoft as the little black kid, the new little black kid, and they're like, no, you don't play with him, because someday everybody in the world is going to be working on Apple, and we want to make that sooner rather than later. So, you know, just we got to drive these PCs right into the sea, right off the edge of the earth. No PCs. No, you don't talk to PCs. No. So I had an awful lot of stuff that had to be run on PC, like all the drivers for all my printers, most of them, for the big industrial ones. And so I bought some Apple computers, and I started playing around, and I started trying to integrate them. And I realized very quickly that they would not integrate. They couldn't. And then it didn't take too long before I realized why. You know, you start digging into stuff, and you realize there's no reason for this not to talk to this other thing. No reason at all, except Apple is a bunch of assholes. And I started thinking, why do I want to switch over to a brand that acts like that? As it turned out, even if I wanted to, I couldn't, because I couldn't get hardly anything to integrate. and talk to each other and work together. It just wasn't going to happen. So I abandoned Apple, went back to PC, and fought and fought and fought and fought. And the Windows versions came along, new ones. And I think it's every 3-4 months I had a new one, something like that. And they were all shit, but they got a little bit less shitty as they went along, and things kind of started to work a little bit. And I pretty much put Apple on the back burner, gone, whatever. I can't deal with a machine that can't talk to any other machine. Played with Linux a number of times, still couldn't get it to do the things we needed it to do because it was early. It was early in the evolution of Linux. But the problems with Microsoft just continued, especially with networking. My God, what a frickin' nightmare PCs are with networking. And they still are. I've still got the same problems today that I had 10 years ago that I can't frickin' solve. Nobody can solve the problems. So I started thinking, it's been a while. Let's try Apple again. Let's just look at Apple again. Let's just take a look at it. I had a friend who was a Linux consultant, big time. He was the man for many major corporations running Linux, operating with Linux, running the entire corporation on Linux. And he was making big money. He was like, I can't remember, $3,000 or $4,000 an hour, something like that. And that was 15 years ago. And he had a giant corporation come to him one day, and they said, hey, we're starting up this whole new division. It's going to be computer intensive. We need lots and lots and lots of computers, and we need what's the best OS for this whole new division of our giant, I'm not going to say the name. He wasn't supposed to tell me. It's a giant, major U.S. corporation. And they said, what's going to be the best OS for this thing? Microsoft or Linux? And we're fully prepared to sign you on. We want you to do a full-on study, look at our needs and what the different OSs can do, and then you write up a formal thing that says, okay, I think for you, the best OS is this. And my friend said, no, I don't need to do that. I'm not going to charge you any money. You don't have to make any contract. I'm going to tell you two things. It's only going to take me 20 seconds. And I can save your company from doom. And he said, do not ever, under any circumstances, don't care what the perks, don't care, do not start anything with Microsoft, anything. Just don't do it. This way lies madness and ruination. Thing number 2, start everything with Linux. Only Linux OS, only Linux machines, only Linux. Okay, 20 seconds there. Give me 50 grand. And they laughed and they shook hands, and the big corporate guys went away, and 2 weeks later it came out that they had gone with Microsoft. 18 months later, that division was bankrupt because they couldn't keep anything running with Microsoft. Okay, so that weighed on me to some degree. Apple made it pretty clear. They had no bones about making this known, that their brains were rotting like a rotten apple. The worms were getting into the seeds in the middle of the apple, and the worms were called wokeism. Apple started out woke, and then it just got more woke and more woke and more woke. And as you're fiddling around in Apple systems, you begin to realize, oh, geez, I can't do this. Why can't I do this? The simple task, I can do this 10 different ways on PC, but I can't do it at all on Apple. What the hell is this about? And you start researching and digging, And you find out there is no logical, legitimate reason why you can't do that on Apple, except that Apple's religion of wokeism won't allow it. The religion says no, because you can't let your customers do that because that's not woke. No, you got to be woke. You got to be. And so little by little, you realize that many of the little annoyances and irritations and shortcomings and blockades that you can't get around or through on Apple stuff isn't due to any logical reason. It's just wokeism. That's all it is. I was getting tired of it. I was getting ready to give up on Apple the second time. As much as I hated PC, and as much as I still couldn't get Linux to do everything we needed for the shop, I just was tired. I was tired of the wokeism and the bullshit and the anal retentive crap and the little pussy woke stunts that they would pull to try to further their idea of what the world should be, even if it's obviously patently counterproductive. Apple, by God, they're going to stick to it no matter what, right to their dying breath, And I was tired of that. Okay, two things happened. One thing was that I decided to give another push into Apple wokeism world, because I knew people who were doing just personal computing on Apples, and they were doing okay. They weren't really having too many problems. I was a little ticked off. I went to try to create a shortcut on my Apple, and I couldn't figure out what the hell. Wait, a shortcut? I've been doing that half of my life. A shortcut. I want to make a shortcut. Can't do it. Well, now you can, because they finally come around, kind of, sort of, a little bit. But you had to make an alias. Now, God dang it, a shortcut means the straightest line between 2 points, where you're not meandering around, going around the backside of the mountain to get to the front of the mountain. That's a shortcut. Shortcut is a freaking straight line. Easy. A shortcut is supposed to be the easiest way to get to something. Short. Look it up. But on Apple, you couldn't do that. You had to make an alias. Well, an alias, it didn't compute in my tiny brain, because an alias is not a shortcut. An alias is a guy named Bob who, for whatever wokey reason, doesn't like the name Bob, so he wants to be called Cinderella. That's his alias now. That's Bob's alias. It's Cinderella. Okay, well, I want a shortcut. So I just starting to look at the whole wokeism bullshit thing with Apple. I think, why can't you call that a shortcut? Because that's what it is. It's not an alias. It's a freaking shortcut. I know lots of people are going to argue, and I don't give a rat's ass. A shortcut is a shortcut, and an alias is something that wants to be called something different. Well, God. Okay. So it was a billion little things like that just started making me think, I don't know. I just really got really big, serious doubts. But I went out and bought a big old super MacBook and said, okay, it's do or die. We're going to get to the bottom of this bullshit once and for all, Apple or PC. And so I got a really good machine, and I spent a couple of weeks, probably 12 hours a day, solid 12, 13, 14 hours some days, trying to integrate this system, this Apple system, with my PC system, because I had to do quite a few things that only PC could do. Apple just wasn't there yet. And I needed to have control over the stuff that I was asking Apple to do. Turns out in far too many instances, Apple has capped you. It's kneecapped you. And it prevents you from having the control that you need to have in installing apps and choosing apps and lots of things you need to do on a PC. You go get an app and that app doesn't work out, so you go back and there's 37 other apps and one of them probably going to work. On Apple there might be one or two written for Apple. And if neither of them work, you're screwed. You're effed. You're screwed. You've got to go back to a PC to do what you need to do, whatever that is. And I thought, well, okay, I'll integrate these two systems so that I can use the Apple for the bulk of the stuff that I need to do, and my whole system will be Apple. It'll be pretty, you know. It'll be cool. We'll dress it up in little pink leotards, and you know, we'll fix its hair, and we'll put a little too much makeup on it, and it'll be just fine. The Apple's going to work. Well, you can put lipstick on a sow and call it Monique, but a pig is still a pig. And after a couple of weeks of fighting my brains out, trying to get this Apple system to integrate with the PC system, dumb me finally realized, no, it ain't going to work. Not going to work. It's designed not to work. Yeah, over the years, okay, I grant Apple has acquiesced a little bit, and it has made some things integrate a little better than they used to, but it's not even close to being there. You can't use the systems interchangeably. You can't plug them into each other and just let them run. They're going to run amok. God almighty. So a couple of weeks of this horse shit. And I was on the edge. I was on the edge. I was on the edge of putting on a sandwich board and walking up and down Main Street. You know, don't buy Apple. I actually had that thought, you know. Turned out a website was a lot better. But and then another thing happened. The last straw in this whole chronicle of bullshit. That's when Apple announced. I don't know, did they announce it or did people just figure it out? I'm not sure. Because when Apple does things that are anally retentive to the nth degree, a lot of times they don't just up front tell people. They hide it back in there somewhere in the coding, and people got to dig for it. Fortunately, there's some really smart people working on Apple stuff, and they figure this shit out, and they reveal it, okay? Apple, in its supreme, clinically insane wokeness, set things up so that at least the iPhone, I don't know if this applied to computers or not, at least the iPhone, which I was haltingly trying to use also. And iPhones are good. They're rugged and they're good and they're reliable, and except when you need to really get control of something to make it do what you want, then the iPhone's not so cool. It's a dumbed down device. And that's good for a lot of people. I have family who run Apples and they love them, and they denounce me all the time for not running Apple. Oh, you should. You didn't give it enough time. I got 20 frickin' years. Okay, I'm gonna explode like a little guy's in Mars Attacks, you know, and the yodeling is going, and the little heads are inside the helmets, and the yodeling. Okay, when people talk about the virtues of Apple, to me, it's the same as I hear yodeling, and then my brain, it just starts to tremble and vibrate, and then after a minute, boom, blah. You know, that's what happens to me when people start talking religion to me. The same damn thing happens. And a lot of people stick with Apple, even though deep down in the dark recesses of their teeny tiny little dinosaur brains, they know in a lot of ways, not in every way, in a lot of ways, it's shit. They know that. But it's kind of a religious thing. It's a cult. It's a cult. They will defend it with their dying breath. Apple is perfect. Apple is God-like. Okay, keep using it. And then next week, when you really need to do something creative on your Apple and you can't because Apple has blocked it in some way, you come back and tell me how God-like that is. Oh, God. So, the last straw for me was when Apple, in its infinite godlike wisdom, decided and decreed, and I believe they coded this in, I believe it went into practice. If you were a traveler like I was and am, if you're traveling the world, and you're in, I don't know, Bangladesh, maybe, and you got a project, it's critical, you're working on it, and your battery's getting down, and you got to recharge that turkey as fast as humanly possible, and you plug it in, and you get a trickle, and you start checking all your stuff. You check the little meter thing on your USB cable, it's putting out, the voltage coming from the wall is putting out, everything is go, you know, but you're getting this little dribble into your iPhone, maybe not even enough to keep it running. And you think, what in the hell? All the numbers are good. All the numbers are valid. I'm getting, you know, the power's going to the iPhone. There's plenty of power, plenty of amperage, plenty of wattage. The voltage is correct. What's going on? And after a number of times of that, I started doing the down and dirty research and found out that Apple, wait for it, Apple had decreed that if you want to charge your iPhone in a country that produces its power in a manner that does not agree 100% with the Apple creed of wokeism and clean power production, they're going to punish you. They're going to punish you. They're going to cut your charging down to a trickle. And so there you are. You're sitting in a seedy hotel, and you got to get this phone going. You got to get this phone going. And I don't remember if Bangladesh was one of the places or not. They were sprinkled throughout the world. Or Apple just went on a map, you know, pinned the tail on the donkey. They had a bunch of little stick pins, and let's see, this country, yeah, we don't like how they produce their power, so can't charge an iPhone there. Let's see, this other country over here. Oh, look at this continent. Look at this whole frickin' continent. We don't like how they produce their power. X them, black them off. Okay. Now at that point, I did not care if Apple did this, if Apple actually implemented this or merely proposed it. Proposing it was enough. I don't want that kind of illogic in my life. I don't. No, sir, no. They're not going to make that decision for me. If they are really anal retentive in that way about that issue, okay. when I plug my phone in Bangladesh, and it happens to be on a list of countries that Apple personally does not like, then what they could do, they could make a little warning flash up on your screen and say, hey, by the way, we're Apple and we're godlike and we know everything and we're cool, you know, cooler than you, that's for damn sure. And you can't. No, they don't. They shouldn't. They wouldn't have to say you can't. They would say you shouldn't charge your phone in this country. Okay, thank you very much. Have a good day. And then the warning goes away, blips off, and then you, the owner of that phone, can make a decision. Okay, Apple just informed me. Apple just educated me. They don't like the way this country produces electricity because maybe it's not as efficient as Apple thinks it should be. Okay, it's freaking Bangladesh or it's Cambodia, you know, whatever. They don't have the resources to make, but I still need to charge my iPhone, you know. Okay, so they could make a little warning flash up there. And then you, the person with a supposed brain, supposedly with a supposed brain, you could say, okay, yeah. Thank you, Apple. Noted. Okay, I agree with you, Apple. I don't like the way pen makes its electricity either, and so therefore, I'm going to let my phone go dead, and I'm going to lose this project, and we're going to get sued, and we'll go bankrupt. But it's okay. It's okay, you know, because you're right, Apple. You know, to be woke to the nth degree. And you know, I'll go to Myanmar, and they got some slave squirrels over there, and they're running these little treadmill things, and they're creating electricity. I could charge my iPhone. Oh, wait a minute, no, that would be slave labor. That would be squirrel slave labor. Yeah, no, I can't go to Myanmar. Let's see. I don't know. Canada. Can I charge my iPhone in Canada? Would that be okay, Apple, with you? Is that okay? Okay. Now, I didn't research, I heard that later Apple got so much blowback over this that they rescinded the whole thing, took out the code, whatever. And then you could charge your phone in Bangladesh or in Phnom Penh or whatever. And everybody's like, okay, thank you, godlike Apple, you're so wise. You know, we only had to threaten to bankrupt you, and you just came right around and you said, okay, public, okay, people who sign our paychecks, okay, we'll take out that stupid moronic freaking thing, and you can charge your iPhone now. It's okay. We grant you this privilege. It's okay. And, you know, we're probably going to cut it down in some other way that you won't be able to figure out, you know. That's how we're going to stick it to you for still trying to charge your phone in, you know, Bangkok or something. But, you know, but now we're smarter and we're wiser, and you'll never figure out that we've done that now, you know. Okay. So what it came down to for me was I did not care if they had ever implemented that. I cared that any company could be so supremely arrogant and woke and stupid and backwards and counterproductive and illogical and stupid again, S-T-O-O-P-I-D. Wait, should it be S-T-O-O-P-E-D? No, that would be stooped. No, it has to be I-D. Stupid! You fucking little rat bastards! God almighty! So I didn't care if they ever implemented that policy. I don't care. I didn't care then, I don't care now. A company who would even remotely think that in the dark recesses of some secret board meeting, if somebody even brought that up, that would be enough for me, and to get rid of that company and get rid of their products. And I did. I dumped everything. I dumped my iPhone. I dumped everything. Because if we found out about that, how many hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of other little woke bullshit things have we been subjected to as Apple customers that hurt our productivity and or our creativity and or our pocketbook? How much other bullshit have they instituted, hidden in the code somewhere that we never figured out, maybe never will figure it out, that's hurting us, simply so that the little leotard-clad Apple suckfish can dance around with their fairy lights and say, we fucked you really good, didn't we? There's nothing you can do about it because we're woke and you're not and you're evil, therefore. All right. So no Apple stuff is allowed in my business or in my home. I still hate PC. I think Linux is to the point where I can use it now. Next PC will be, not PC, it'll be Linux. I'll bring one in before I give out the PCs and try to, merge on over and see how that goes. Linux is the best thing we've got going out there. It's just a matter of, can it now finally do everything some businesses need it to do? I think it probably can. I think it's there finally after all these decades. I think it's there. I hope, because PCs are driving me freaking crazy. I'm not doing a lot these days. I'm doing higher end consumer level stuff. Lots of video and stuff like that. And the PC bullshit is still bullshit. I had an SD card just the other day, pulled it out of the camera, popped it into the little slot on the PC, and within 1 second, I suppose, a little message popped up, said, SD card being formatted. We'll tell you when it's done. 4 seconds later, it was done. I thought, what? I didn't cue any command. I didn't even type anything. I just popped it in, and within 1.5 seconds, you're formatting it. What? Never happened before in my life. Why did you do this? And I thought, okay, well, that's a bad thing. But the unerased software has gotten much better these days, right? Sure it has. And all it did was a quick format. That's all it did. There was no files overwritten on the SD card. It wasn't a full format. It was a quick format. Nothing, surely those files can be recovered. It was 152 gigabytes of raw video from a shoot that day. Well, 4 high-end, highest possible end recovery apps later, 3 of them paid, 1 not paid. I didn't recover a single file. So, PC is still shit. It always will be shit because it was built upon a culture of shit, and there's no one there to change that culture. Maybe Musk could do it. I don't know. It would take him 20 years, So that's my story of Apple. Now, did this make me feel better about my whole condo situation here in Philippines? No, because now that when I sign off of this thing, I got to go back and wrestle with that. So, it didn't make me feel better at all. Got the Apple thing off my chest, but it doesn't help me one whit with the whole condo freaking insanity shit thing. I don't think my stress level went down 1%. No, I didn't. I'm gauging it right now. I'm assessing. No. No, not even 1%. I'm still pissed off. Okay. Want to buy an apple? Go ahead. Some of my family love them. But they're doing pretty light duty stuff too, and they're not creative. They're not trying to do things out of the ordinary. That's kind of what it comes down to. If no, it's worse even than that. I'm forever doing things that are out of the ordinary, trying to make things work and do what I want. No. Stay away from Apple completely 100%. Is my advice. Stay away from PC if you possibly can. Try Linux. Try it. Just try it. You can install it as a dual boot on your machine, or just get another kind of a sort of Linux dedicated machine. You know, it doesn't really have to be too much dedicated for Linux, but a little bit helps. Just get a spare machine, you know, get some $500,000 laptop and put Linux on there and try it to, you know, at a leisurely pace. Start installing the stuff you need on it and see if it works. You know, just see if it works. And don't run no damn emulators, though. This way lies madness. You know, just stay straight Linux and see if you can get done everything you need to get done. I'm thinking maybe, possibly you can now. You couldn't even a couple of years ago for the stuff that I needed to do. But Apple was a complete wash in every possible way. That, God, I just hate, loathe, and detest them. Even if they weren't woke, I wouldn't like the fact that their machines are so dumbed down. But you got that, and then you got the wokeism. Okay, that's enough. Thank you very much. From Southeast Asia, where I can still charge my Android phones. Thank you very much, and good evening and good night.